Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats. And a very warm welcome to all of you here to the Barony Hall at the University of Strathclyde. The Barony Hall being one of the jewels in the crown of our estate. It's a wonderful place to celebrate such an important occasion. Before me this morning, and indeed behind me on the stage, I have a fine group of women and men who are currently our Strathclyde graduands, and in the course of the next 45 minutes or so, they'll be magically transformed into Strathclyde graduates. For those of you who don't visit Glasgow or Scotland very often, you'll be aware that the weather is always like this. In fact, a little bit cool today, to be honest with you. I had to put an extra coat on this morning on the way out. But it's great to have you here. And of course, we have the benefit of these wonderful ceremonies. This is now our final day of the summer graduations, and over the course of 10 days we'll have graduated around 3,000 people, launching them from Strathclyde into their careers, into society, into business, and no finer cohort than we have from the Strathclyde Business School. Normally we celebrate all of the students' achievements, and we'll do just that, but we also have the benefit on occasion to celebrate associates and friends of the university for their wonderful contributions to society and into their professional life, and indeed into cultural life. And I'm delighted, and you'll hear a little bit more about him very shortly, that we have Sir Andrew Parmley with us on the stage today, very recently ex-Lord Mayor of London, and we will hear a lot about him from David Hamilton, who you've just heard playing the organ. David, please come and join us, and give him a round of applause for his wonderful performance. I had planned that David was joined us by zip wire from the wings, but we also are delighted to have senior representatives from Civic Glasgow with us today. We have Dr. Alistair Dorward, who's Deacon Convener of the Trades House, and very recently ex-Deacon Convener Keith Brown and his wife Rita. And most importantly, from Andrew's point of view, we have Wendy Parmley here with us to reflect on Andrew's great achievements. So with that, we'll start with the introduction to Andrew, and then we'll go into the graduations. So, welcome. I now declare this ceremony formally open, and I will give you to David. Thank you very much indeed.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present to you Sir Andrew Parmley, Principal of the Herodian School and former Lord Mayor of London. Andrew has for several decades combined tireless activity in education and public life, displaying high standards of leadership and commitment. He was born in Manchester and grew up on the Lancashire coast, attending school in Blackpool. Now, Blackpool is renowned as the home of ballroom dancing, and for the organ in the Tower Ballroom, which rises from below the stage. So it is perhaps appropriate that when Andrew first showed signs for aptitude in music, it was on the organ that he became particularly skilled. In fact, he served for a time as music director at Blackpool Pleasure Beach and has been playing the organ in his local church on Sundays for more than 30 years. Andrew began his career in education as Director of Music at Forest School in North East London, and followed this with spells at two other schools in London, South Hampstead High School and the Greycoat Hospital School. He then took up his current post as Principal of the Herodian School in South West London, a school which was founded as recently as 1993. During his time in London, Andrew has been particularly active in the city's historic trade associations, which are known as livery companies and whose origins can be traced back for centuries. He has held a number of ceremonial posts, including Master of the Parish Clerks and Musicians Companies and Master Glass Seller, and he will shortly become Master Vintner. He is also an honorary liveryman of the blacksmiths, joiners and sealers, horners, water conservatives, and educators, and I think about another 10, which time precludes me from mentioning. In addition, Andrew is a long-serving member of the City of London Council. He was elected to the Vintry ward of the city in 25 years ago and became its alderman in 2001, before in 2016-17 becoming the 689th Lord Mayor of London. This role took him around the world and across the UK and included a trip back to Blackpool in an official capacity, during which he discussed how the City of London might offer support to his hometown and other seaside towns facing similar challenges. He has served on most of the city's corporation committees, including as chairman of the City of London School for Girls and Guildhall School of Music and Drama. With such a successful, inspirational and influential career, it came as little surprise and indeed a cause for great celebration when Andrew was knighted in the 2018 New Year Honours List for services to music education and civic engagement. His fervent belief in the value of education is reflected in his long and successful career in schools. His leadership at a number of outstanding schools is testament to the quality of this service. Through his work with the livery companies, he has also been a strong advocate of apprenticeships. He is a member of the Apprenticeship Delivery Board, which is charged with generating around 3 million quality new apprenticeships by the end of 2020. This demonstrates an outstanding commitment to employment opportunities and very much strikes a chord with us at Strathclyde, where we pride ourselves on our close links to business and industry and on the preparation our teaching gives our students for their chosen careers. It is with great pleasure, therefore, Principal and Vice-Chancellor, that with the authority of Senate, I ask you to confer upon Sir Andrew Parmley the degree of Doctor of the University Honoris Causa.
Andrew, I create you Doctor of the University Honoris Causa. We are delighted to have you associated with us. Well done and many congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. I'll look after it for you. Yes. Thanks, Stephen.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, Fellows, Deacon Convener, recently retired Deacon Convener, graduates, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Principal and Vice-Chancellor, for the great honour you do me today by making me a Doctor of this University Honoris Causa. For it is indeed a real privilege and honour for a Sassenach to be accorded such an award. As the orator has explained, I grew up in Blackpool, where my passion for music was the guiding light to my childhood. And when people ask me, how does a musician from Blackpool become a councillor in the City of London? I explained that my first employment, as you have heard, was as musical director of the Blackpool Pleasure Beach, Europe's greatest amusement park, where my duties included accompanying Mary Chipperfield's ice skating chimpanzees. And it is but a short step from there to the council chamber. I first became aware of this part of the world, its townfolk and their whimsical ways, during the so-called Glasgow fortnight in Blackpool. And since I first walked down Socky Hall Street, sustaining only minor injuries, I have had a passion for this part of Scotland, a passion nurtured by my first student job here in the Kelvin Hall, and reinforced by the fantastic Glasgow's Miles Better campaign launched by the Lord Provost in 1983. You have a great deal of which to be proud, Principal, and not least this wonderful university, its distinguished academic staff, and your panoply of international graduates. The citation, read so beautifully by the university organist, David, and incidentally, let me too pay homage to David's great playing on this unique instrument, probably unique in the United Kingdom. It is a fantastic bit of kit, and the university should be praised for having the foresight to install such a wonderful thing here. As David mentioned, my recent award was for services to civic engagement in the City of London. But let me explain that whilst the office I occupied for 12 months is known as Lord Mayor of London, the job is to represent everybody who works in financial, professional and business services, some 2.2 million people across the UK, of only whom 1/3 are based in London. Recent figures show that almost 160,000 people are employed in financial and related businesses here in Scotland. This is truly a national industry, and I congratulate the young people in front of me who are going to join those fantastic industries and make a difference. Now, in most walks of life, you try to do your best, and if you're lucky, somebody may say thank you and perhaps throw a small party. When you become Lord Mayor, you start with the world's best party, the silent ceremony, the Lord Mayor's Show, which is the world's longest and most televised unrehearsed parade, fireworks on the River Thames, the Festival of Remembrance at the Albert Hall, and the Lord Mayor's Banquet with the Prime Minister and the Archbishop of Canterbury as your principal guests. And then you wake up, and it's Tuesday, and there are still 361 days to go. Days packed with up to 20 meetings, with royalty, business leaders, overseas representatives, ambassadors, military leaders, educators, representatives of the church, charity workers, journalists and broadcasters, people from every walk of life. And while there are many sidelines, one is crowned as Admiral of the Port of London, Chief Magistrate, even Chancellor of City University, to name but three, the main job of the Lord Mayor of London is to roll up the sleeves and to promote the United Kingdom as a great place in which to do business. In doing so, I travelled to 30 countries and spent 100 days abroad. I made around 900 speeches and gave many, many interviews. Indeed, just before we came into this beautiful hall, the principal was asking me how many interviews I gave during the mayoral year, and the answer is about 250. My favourite was for Dragon Television in Shanghai, apparently watched by 600 million people. The next day at breakfast, the waiter, whilst pouring coffee, said, "I saw you on television last night, sir." Well, as I had given 11 interviews the previous day, I said, "That's interesting. What was I saying?" He replied, "Sir, in China, everybody watch, nobody listen." Under the banner, Educate, Support, Inspire, Wendy and I had a great time raising funds for 3 charities, particularly LSO Discovery, the London Symphony Orchestra's outreach programme. And it was a real pleasure for me, at least, to play the Sanson Organ Symphony with the LSO in St Paul's Cathedral. Less of a pleasure was to abseil down all 717 feet of the cheese grater in the rain. That's the city's tallest building. So, in congratulating all the graduates, and indeed their long-suffering parents and supporters, if I had one word of advice to give you, it would be to listen to the advice of the English composer Gustav Holst. Holst said, "Listen to all advice and take none." But if I were to give you one word, my word would have to be yes. My word revolves around that very small word, yes. Whatever the question, my answer is yes. Better to take a chance than to spend a lifetime regretting missed opportunities. Yes is how I came to be married to Wendy. Yes is how I became Lord Mayor. And after all, if yes turns out to have been the wrong answer, it's always possible to explain that you've made a mistake. In my experience, this has rarely been the case. So, fellow graduates, say yes and seize the moment. It may not come your way again. And to state the obvious, life really is very short, almost as short as my favourite poem. Tempus fugit, carpe diem, waste not a jot of A or PM. Principal, Vice-Chancellor, Orator, thank you again. Graduates, congratulations to you all. And ladies and gentlemen, unlike my Chinese television audience, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for that. Please. Let me return this to you. Thank you.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, in the name of the University and by the authority of Senate, I present to you these students. For the degree of Master of Business Administration, Amar Mahmoud Abdul Rahman. Mohammed Abdul Khalik. Izzat Farouk Al-Zorba. Nicholas Arvanitis. Elias Boutsikaris. Scott Clegg. Fiona Drummond. Savio Adrian Souza. James Gilbert. Zohair Shamsuddin Haider. David John Holland. Pavel Jakovlev. Islam Mustafa Kandio. Selena Kerr. Sudesh Kumar. Lee Chin Hon. Lim Hon Chung. Morten Urhorj Pam. Nigel Craig Pemberton. Terry Quinn. Mohammed Sharid Said. Renju Sasidaran. Sim Chi Boon. Christina Struller. Mildred Zamunya. Karim Ehab Abdul Hamid Abu El Fadl. Ahmad Tariq Ahmad Ziad. Sarah Al-Absi. Jamal Saleh Al-Barchani. Shilpa Anthony. Georgios Alexandros Balafoutis. Andre Campos. Grant Andrew Williamson Christie. Stephen Elliott. Mohammed Essam Fahim Janina. Ahmed Magdi Musa Hassani. Kim Dong-koo. Lee Win-ni. Gary McCann. Jonathan Merino Gosselin. Kate O'Neill. Ramakanth Padmanabhuni. Islam Rohoma. Mustafa Shaheen. Abdullah F. M. Swailem. Angela Vinasco Bejarano. Shaima Abdul Rahman Al-Hamed. Faiza Arfan Awad Ahmed Al-Kathiri. Nur Amur Ahmed Al-Suleimani. Mohammed Alam. Yusuf Fuad Bohaza. Amar Hashim. Ahmed Ibrahim Mahmoud Murad. Baukez Nema. Rafiq Wagdi. For the degree of Master of Science in Project Management and Innovation, Tina Link. For the degree of Master in International Business with Modern Languages, Seren Anderson. Amy Armstrong. Catherine Baber. Daniel Butt. Chantel Marita Christian. Beth Findlay. Giulia Franchetti Rosada. Sophie Gillis. Rebecca Laura Hay. Caitlin Eve Houston. Laura Illand. Rebecca Melgard Jameson. Sarah Jansen. Erin McColgan. Martina Malicic. Ailey Joy Maxwell. Caitlin O'Connor. Sarah McGregor Toonsey. Irene Pilar Zueca Diaz. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Business Enterprise, Peter Graham Dallas. Blair William Munton. Sarah Louise McCourt. Jack David McNeilage. Kailan Svetanov Naidanov. In Business Enterprise with International Study, Adam Derek Jack. In Business Enterprise and Management, Scott Wilson. In Business Enterprise and Marketing, Ross Graham Ford. Kirsty McConnell. Lara Morton. Ailey Rebecca Ross. Alexandra Jane Smith. In Hospitality and Tourism Management, Zai Lee Chang. Jack Simpson. Konstantinos Alexopoulos. Dilara Altayeva. In Hospitality and Tourism Management and Business Enterprise, Megan Monroe. In Hospitality and Tourism Management and Human Resource Management, Megan Elizabeth Clark. In Hospitality and Tourism Management and Marketing with International Study, Wing Ki Jamika Wan. In International Business, Justice Chalka. In International Business with Business Enterprise, Caitlin Alicia Conley. Sam Elliott. Amy Ellen Hislop. Andrew Robert Lawson. Thomas McEntee. Kirsty Allison Cowan. Rohan Dawan. Ahmed El Gassea. Marjorie Hughes. Kirsty Skye Johnson. Ben Lockhart. John Loughran. Hannah Quinn. Grant Simpson. David Nagy. In International Business with Economics, Ailey Alexander. Charlotte Elizabeth Strike. Samuel Iloglu. Marisa Michelle Medushka. Plamen Radev Radev. In International Business with Finance, Adil Bhatti. Eleanor K. Clarkson. Louis John Dissart. Stephanie Freeman. Pavel Jasic. Peter Andrew Johnston. Chloe Jones. James Michael Lynch. Abby McCulloch. Jonathan Adam Wright. Zach Mitchell Burney. Natalie King. Essie Elisa Mallon. Atanas Parparov. Taylor Syme. Stephen Allen. Renatas Lutsaitis. In international business with hospitality and tourism management, Teodora Radistinova Dobreva. Michelle Elizabeth MacDonald Page. Neil Smith. In international business with human resource management, Megan McCole. Jenna Morrison. Katrina Kuhl. Rebecca Ann McLaren. Laura Grace Smith. In international business with management, Kyle Easdale. Christopher William Graham. Emma Louise Robertson. Alana Jessica Thimpanga Scott. Adam Walker. Elizabeth Campbell. Peter Curl Clark. Shivark Singh Uppal. In international business with marketing, Sarah Elizabeth Johnson. Francesca Arcari. Eileen Aschenbach. Colette Carr. Anna Conlon. Amy Louise Cowan. Laura Marie Davey. Alice Kathleen Deeney. Ross Andrew Fairbairn. Sophie Louise Hart. Kristina Nedzielkova Hodolova. Nicola Jacob. Ivo Dejanov Karakashev. Amy Christina Ferguson Kennedy. Hannah Elizabeth Leslie. Chloe Lengyak. Kirsty Ann MacDonald. Alicia McLaughlin. James William Moran. Nicola Louise Morrison. Rachel Louise O'Neill. Alexandra Purdon. Amy Ann Robertson. Aoka Silas Schmidt. Hazel Rose Scott. Haley Jo Stephen. Holly Jane Stinson. Cara Tripney. Lucas Martin. Andrew Archibald Proud. In international business with modern languages, Caroline Suter. Rachel Louise Gordon. Molly Louise McGuigan. Rachel McMullen. Katie Helena Snedden. In management, Gabrielle Clockway. Chloe Gebby. Amanda Miles. In Management and Business Enterprise, Holly Allenby. In Management and Finance, Alison Maxwell. Sean Ravenscroft. Inderjeet Singh. In Management and Marketing, Lisa Victoria Higgins. Lauren Elizabeth Catherine Fisher. Natalie Tom. In Management and Marketing with International Study, Kieran Samuel Tedman. For the degree of Masters of Business Administration, Kalpes Jagatia. Paul Kingshot.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give all these new graduates a big collective round of applause. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate our welcome to this wonderful ceremony, a day that none of you will forget. It marks the successful conclusion of many years of hard work, and now you've graduated successfully in front of your proud families, friends and supporters. And today we welcome visitors from all over Scotland, from throughout the UK, and indeed across the globe. You're all very welcome here to this wonderful occasion at the Barony Hall. Of course, these graduation ceremonies always have a backdrop of what's going on in society and the economy, and as we reflect on the prevailing political dynamics in Scotland, in the UK, throughout Europe, and increasingly the dynamics that we see across the Atlantic, it's worthwhile acknowledging the key roles that universities continue to play. And Strathclyde is an institution where freedom of thought is valued and encouraged. We're a place that is both tolerant and inclusive, and where people of diverse national, cultural and social backgrounds come together to enjoy excellent education and a shared student experience. We benefit here at Strathclyde for having students and staff from over 100 countries. Ours is a socially progressive institution and one that tries to be an exemplar for modern society. We're plural, multicultural, and we seek to be enlightened. It's our responsibility to continue to challenge unacceptable practices, including, sadly, by those in power, and we apply reason and we try to exemplify exactly what we believe a values-led approach to society and collaboration actually means. But of course, even with that backdrop, we're here today to acknowledge all of your hard work and the learning that you've built up and the successful completion of your degree course. Appropriately enough, Thomas Edison, like me, an electrical engineer and also a famous American inventor, said that genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. But being Strathclyders, I'm sure that those ratios were much better than that suggests. I was brought up here in Glasgow, in a sunny hamlet called Govan, where the historical motto is nihil sine labore, or nothing without hard work. And I try to embrace that ethos every day I come into this institution, the joy of my life after my family. And I suggest that you try and take that approach. You're all very intelligent, highly accomplished young women and men, but the application of your knowledge and the energy that you apply to making a difference will make all the difference to your careers and those around you. So today you've become Strathclyders, Strathclyde alumni, and you're the latest of our torchbearers, just like many generations of graduates before you. And with all that you've now successfully come through, I know that you would agree that you couldn't have done this without the backing and encouragement of the community of supporters around you. It is fitting that we acknowledge their part in the successful completion of your university studies. Our graduates, and indeed the university at large, owe them an enormous debt of gratitude. As the first in my own family to have gone to university, as it happens here at Strathclyde, I know the importance of such support. And I blanched a little when I was preparing my speech for this year's ceremonies, because it dawns on me that it was 40 years ago this week that I graduated from Strathclyde. As a very talented 12-year-old boy, I have to tell you. It just shows you the open access that we gave to education just then. But I have to say that I'm sure that today's graduates and our university staff would like to take the opportunity to thank all of the families, the friends and the supporters for all that they've done to make today possible. Graduates, let's say thanks to all of them. And for our academic staff too, this is a very important day, because ultimately your success is their reward. Strathclyde has worked hard to provide you with a first-class education and a high-quality experience, regardless of background. And let me now invite my graduates, and indeed those in the hall, to say a big thanks to my wonderful academic staff for all that they've done to make today's successes possible. Thank you. So just a very little about your institution, our institution. You should be aware that Strathclyde was founded in 1796. We are now 222 years old, and throughout our history, the University of Strathclyde has remained faithful to our founding principles. We were established, and I quote, in those days, for the benefit of all mankind, and subnote, for the benefit of all womankind too. We were the only higher education institution to be established here in Scotland during the Scottish Enlightenment. That's a very important distinction for Strathclyde, where we challenge the norm, try to make a difference, keep the doors to our institution wide open. And we're driving forward our strategy in that same fervour, with that exciting spirit, making it wholly relevant to the 21st century. Our founder, Professor John Anderson, who was a philosopher or a natural philosopher or a physicist that they would have had in those days, had very strong links with Benjamin Franklin, the American inventor and academic. And Franklin was one of the founding fathers of the University of Pennsylvania in 1751 with the motto of useful knowledge. And that influenced the thinking of John Anderson, as well as what was going on in Europe more broadly, and he created the motto of useful learning for our institution. And never has that philosophy been so relevant since our establishment over 200 years ago. And our motto that should be carried by all of our students and staff still defines our purpose as a leading international technological university that is also committed to being socially progressive. Because as you've come to the Barony Hall today, and the buildings that you'll have passed, in these buildings our staff and students are developing drugs to diagnose and fight disease and illness. For example, we currently have several drugs on clinical trials in the areas of cancer treatment, degenerative kidney disease, infection management, and inflammatory disease. Strathclyders are also producing energy technologies and policy solutions to tackle climate change and establish a low-carbon economy. We are revolutionising global manufacturing and helping to create what we call the fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0. Our students continue their work in Africa to establish water and power supplies and to deploy healthcare systems in remote communities. They are bringing prosthetic limb technologies to those in need in India. And of course, we're working to inform public policy and our national economic strategy. The staff in our showcase building, the Technology and Innovation Centre down in George Street, they are working with industry on energy solutions, photonics, bio-nanosystems and pharmaceuticals. Thomas Edison, who I mentioned earlier on, talked about his team and his laboratories as his inventions factory. Well, TIC as we call it, has become our innovations factory. And we acquired the adjacent building, the Innovo building, from Scottish Enterprise in January this year to create Scotland's first innovation district, which will be a driver not only for this city, but for the Scottish economy and more broadly here in the UK. And subject to the analysis and testing of our court, over the next year or so, we'll be committing another £150 million in that site between Ingram Street, High Street and George Street to create the Glasgow City Innovation District, working on medtech, fintech, industrial informatics, 5G communications, space technology, and so on, working very closely with industry. But most importantly, here at Strathclyde, we provide people with the opportunities to transform their lives and the lives of their families. And as mentioned earlier, we still attract many first-generation Strathclyders here to the university. And through useful learning, we also try and give business and industry the tools that they need to be more productive, innovative, and to promote economic growth so that we have the quality of life that we need to be both sustainable and healthy. And these are some of the reasons why we've had a great raft of external recognition of what we do and how we do it. Over the past 5 years, the annual academic Oscars, if we call them, the Times Higher Education Awards, we've had the recognition of the UK Project of the Year, UK University of the Year. The next accolade immediately after that was the UK Entrepreneurial University of the Year, which in large part was down to the fantastic work of the Strathclyde Business School. And I'm delighted to say that just last night, in a ceremony in Glasgow, the Herald Higher Education Awards 2018 had us awarded the Higher Education Institution of the Year. So well done to my staff and students. We sort of swept the board last night. We also received the award for Outstanding Contribution from a Student, a young woman in the engineering faculty, the Widening Access Award, which talks a lot about our socially progressive commitment, and the innovative use of technology in our education and management of the university. So Strathclyde continues to show our disproportionate impact for our students and for those around us, but principally through all of you, our graduates and our postgraduates. You are the lasting legacy that Strathclyde leaves to Scotland and the world at large. But we also concentrate on the quality of our research and the highly effective ways that we use to translate our research to impact and outcome, both with industry and the public sector partners. We're a driver for sustainable economic growth, and Strathclyde has a distinct role in that context. Universities must be seen as an investment, not a cost. And while the Scottish Government invests around £1.2 billion in the sector here in Scotland, we deliver almost £7 billion worth of value back into the Scottish economy. And clearly the achievements of the Strathclyde Business School gives me a fantastic look forward into what's coming in the near future. Let me give you a few edited highlights, because the faculty has done an outstanding job again this year. Starting with its leader, I'm delighted to say that the Business School Executive Dean and my Associate Principal, Professor David Hillier, who introduced all the students to the stage today, won the Outstanding Contribution by a Business Leader category of the Inspiring City Awards. David, fantastic job. Well done. The Business School also launched the programme called Breaking Barriers, working in partnership with Enable Scotland, that interestingly was established by Sir Sam Curran, one of my predecessors and his family, back in the late 60s, early 70s, and also with Scottish Power, giving young people with learning difficulties, aged 18 to 24, an opportunity to study here at the Business School for a certificate in applied business skills, and then pick up a work placement with Scottish Power. The Fraser of Allender Institute, which you'll hear about just about every day in the national news and the digital media, they work in the economics department. They entered into a partnership with Deloitte to sponsor our respected economic commentary reports, which everyone waits for and everyone heeds in terms of the analysis that they do. We've established a new master's programme in financial technology, or fintech. That was launched at Strathclyde to support the digital transformation of Scotland's financial sector. And the MSc in financial technology gives students the financial programming and analytical skills to help companies accelerate transactions and enhance security. Also in fintech, the researchers from SBS and the National Physical Laboratory in Teddington, the Toronto Stock Exchange, and a consultancy firm called ZYen, time-stamped financial stock trades using atomic clocks. I like that. Business meets technology. And they recorded the trays directly on a distributed ledger, and the atomic ledger project recorded over 20 million transactions, time-stamping each over 3 hours of trading. SBS has also been ranked first for both accounting and finance in the UK, and hospitality, leisure, recreation and tourism, as denoted in the Complete University Guide published just 3 or 4 weeks ago. That covers over 131 universities and 70 subjects, and Strathclyde was behind only Cambridge in the UK for the number of 1 subjects that we had in our portfolio. 2 of our SBS students, Roxanne Collinet and Ellen Grieve, scooped first prize in a UK-wide marketing competition run by Wilkinson Sword. And Strathclyde Business School has been re-accredited by the European body Equus for the maximum 5-year period, having undergone a very rigorous review process involving a peer review team of deans from across Europe, assessing the business school against stringent international criteria. And in the QS World Rankings, this is a measure of higher education performance, they published their Return on Investment Report 2018, and it ranked Strathclyde's full-time MBA programme as first globally in its payback period category and first in the UK for salary uplift. To the mums and dads, I know one of the big things today is that we've nearly got these kids off the payroll. So let's think about an MBA, and that will get them supporting you in your retirement as well. And also, I'm delighted to say that SBS has launched a new 12-month Productivity Through People programme supporting SMEs to improve their business performance. That's supported by 4 world-class companies, including GSK, Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems and the John Lewis Partnership. And I could go on because of the performance of this outstanding faculty. But let me move on. To all the students, to the families, understand that this is the exciting context within which you should view your awards today. You're now graduates of a university that places students at the heart of all that we do. We value excellence in education and in research, and we create strong connections with society at large as well as with the business world. And like any great university, we contribute, collaborate and compete on the international stage, and Strathclyde is no different, and we've been accelerating our impacts there through collaborations. For example, in the United States, our principal partners are MIT, Stanford, New York University, with growing partnerships with Caltech and University of Southern California. In China, it's Tsinghua University and Peking Universities, as well as the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. In Singapore, Nanyang Technological University and the National University of Singapore, and a raft of important collaborations we have in Europe. In spite of the flux and the uncertainties that we have around us around Brexit, I think Scotland had a particular voice in the referendum 2 years ago. But to all of my students, in spite of what we see as a rather disorganised approach by the political classes to the negotiations, international business, industry, indeed public sector excellence needs great talent and will continue to need that, need the discovery of new knowledge and innovation, and it needs institutions such as Strathclyde and their graduates to make a difference to the world. So we will see this through. The next 9 months will be interesting, but be in no doubt Strathclyde has positioned itself, and we will remain as a very strong European institution. I have the privilege of being chairman of an entity called CESAR, which is a consortium of 51 of Europe's leading technological universities. Interesting that it's a Brit that's chairing it. All the more interesting it's a Brit with a Scottish accent. But that means that we can represent the Scottish higher education sector's position in Brussels in a more meaningful way. But of course our students also directly benefit from being part of an international university, helping them to emerge with the skills so necessary to compete in Scotland and in the world, and to help Scotland succeed. But of course they've also been exposed to different cultures, and very importantly, today's graduates, all of you, leave here understanding your obligations as global citizens. And as well as having an impact in the world, we understand and take pride in the fact that we're a Glasgow-centred institution. We've been playing a leading role in the Glasgow Economic Leadership Board for about 7 years now, played a significant role in attracting Scotland's first city deal into Glasgow, with around £1.2 billion coming in to try and regenerate industrial growth in finance and business, low-carbon energy, manufacturing, life sciences. But of course, the socially progressive piece is fundamental for us. We remain, with my great pride in my staff who lead this, the leading Scottish research-intensive university that attracts young people from some of the most challenging communities in Scotland. We took this year 1,083, and I pay attention to that, the lower 2 quintiles of Scottish communities coming in here to Strathclyde. Young people with talent, with ambition, and with the capability to see their research activities and their education research through. And whilst we're concluding this summer's graduation ceremony today, we had the first graduation 3 weeks ago at the Children's University graduation. I am the privileged Chancellor of the Children's University, and this year we had 203 youngsters aged 6 to 12 marching across the stage with their gowns and their mortarboards on. I have to say there was a very dangerous photograph at the end where they all threw their mortarboards up in the air and I had to dive for cover. But across they came with their learning passports. And between these 203 youngsters, they had amassed 18,000 hours of extracurricular activity. When they go to the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery, they get a stamp on their passport. They go to the Glasgow Science Centre, they get a stamp on their passport. Go to a night class, and when they fill up their book, they come here and get a bachelor's degree from the Children's University. And their mums and dads are in here, the majority of them never having crossed the threshold of a university. And the message to them is, this place is for you and your children. Think big, have aspirations, and let's work together to give your children an accelerator for their careers and their futures. And those that continue to do their work get a master's degree in the Children's University. And I had one wee girl, aged 10, who's now moving on to get her PhD from the Children's University. So my academic staff are in for trouble, let me tell you, in a couple of years with these highly qualified young people coming in here. But this, for me, encapsulates what Strathclyde's all about. Excellence and international competitiveness, but grounded in the reality of what we're trying to do in this city and further afield. And let me conclude by characterising our university, your university, in 2018. I characterise this as having ambition, focus and momentum, with the agility and commitment to the delivery of our strategy so necessary to navigate the continuing challenges in our sector and the political uncertainties that we all face. It's a privilege for me to lead this wonderful institution with the support of my executive team, my outstanding academics, and the professional services and support staff that were here. John Anderson, our founder, I am sure would recognise that what we are doing today is the realisation of what he sought to establish during the Scottish Enlightenment. We seek now, in this modern society, to be an agent for positive change in Glasgow, in Scotland, the UK, and on the world stage. And to all of you in the Barony Hall today, I am certain that today's graduates will have an enormous impact on society, and that 2018 can truly become a vintage year. So with that in mind, and as you now leave the hall, you'll leave not only with an award, but with a responsibility. You're Strathclyders, and you join an alumni group of 170,000 people worldwide. And whatever you do with your degree, and wherever you go to pursue your careers, remember that useful learning means that you apply your knowledge for the benefits of others, you make a positive impact for yourselves and the communities you belong to. Respect diversity, value freedom of expression and thought, and reach conclusions and resolve disputes through reason and tolerance. These characterise the core values of your university. And now, as we return to today's ceremony, we're all here to mark the achievements of those that have been awarded their degrees. On behalf of the university, I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to every one of you. I wish you every success in your future careers. Please stay in touch and let us know about your progress. Well done again, and please enjoy the rest of this very special day. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, graduates of Strathclyde, we will now conclude the ceremony. We'll process through the hall. We're going to reconvene at the Lord Todd, which is about 100 yards to the right. So once we leave the hall, please come and join us for some refreshments, and many of us will try and get round to have a few conversations to reflect on the fantastic achievements of these young people. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me declare this congregation closed. Thank you very much.